right? That you have persons who make any decision and they don't really know the data properly. Okay, yeah. But could it also be, right, that you're using the wrong tool? Could it be that you're using the wrong tool? Could it also be that you didn't have, somebody was saying it, the data was unreliable. Data was unreliable. You see, to me, so far I have always been seeing, yes, the persons, and I agree with what you said, David. Sometimes the person's making a decision, they don't know what is the correct thing. You always hear that all the time in organizations. We say the people on the top, they don't understand what is happening on the ground. So it's the same concept that you just shared here, you know. They don't understand. The person making the decision may not be the person analyzing the data. So there is a disconnect between that. But how could we solve it? Because that's the whole point of doing data analysis and proper decision making. We have to find a way to solve it. Otherwise, we'll have all the great tools and things still will fail. Alwyn, you want to share anything here? Yeah, good. Right. So here we go. So to start the conversation, what I wanted us to look at, yes, we are here to understand data analytics. Yes, we're going to use Microsoft Excel to just explain 1 or 2 points on it so far. We did last week, the week before, sorry, conditional formatting. There are so many different techniques. You have Power BI, you have Tableau, you have many different apps to actually do data analytics. However, at the end of the day, garbage in, garbage out. You have to have, and we want to start the conversation by saying, you must have a proper data set to manage. You must have a proper data set to manage. If you do not have the data accurately, then this is just a tool, and the tool is not going to do anything. The tool is not going to do anything for you. Right. So we go again. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you could see it. Great. Good. You all are seeing my screen. Let me make things a little larger here. So key takeaways, David. Key takeaways so far from this little conversation thus far. Lunch and learn. I hope you all are having lunch and listening at the same time. Yeah. David, key conversation so far. Key takeaways. David went off on lunch or what?
Key takeaways, if I should interject.
Great. Who's on the call now? I'm trying to get the name right.
Jeffers.
Jeffers, right.
Yeah. So the key takeaway are data gathering and data analysis.
Yes.
And then you go from there.
Data representation, and then data representation, putting it in a format that everybody could understand to make a decision. So David, and a lot of us here are sharing the points that persons on the top, they're making a decision, and they're not part of the analysis of the data. So they are making a decision based on what they think. However, that is totally wrong, because at the end, and you all know that, all of us in agreement, that is totally wrong, because at the end of the day, we are given the data to make the decision. So if you're making a decision not based on anything, then something wrong there. But you know, that's probably a 3-hour conversation for something else again, right? We know those things happen. So data gathering, data analysis, data representation, and decision making. There is a disconnect. You have the data. We say the whole world, everybody talking data driven. You put on the television here in government talking about there's a science or data. You know, everybody know what I'm talking about, the science or data. We talk about it in consultancy in different projects. The data is a science. Let us analyze the data properly. But this is simply a tool. If you don't ask the correct questions, you're not going to get the correct answers, obviously, and you will not be able to make the correct decisions. So the tool could only do what we tell it to do. That's what you always have to remember. You know, I find people use technology and they feel technology will be the miracle worker. It is not the miracle worker. It is simply a tool. We have to guide the tool to make the decision, but you have to know how to use it, of course. And that's what we are here. So today with data analytics, we are using Excel to demonstrate a point, which is pivot tables, and how the use of pivot tables could help us to know, hey, you know, this car selling more than the other. Let me invest into this property now. Let me not do that. Let me do this. It helps you to know better what ifs. So I've created a screen here. I think everybody's seen it, right? Where I have vehicle, right? Where we have vehicle, color, mileage, price, and what was paid. Right. You all seen it, having a look? Tell me what come into mind when you see this? Yeah, what am I trying to demonstrate here with this data? Yeah, what am I trying to talk with the data? Well, what I'm trying to talk with the data would be different vehicles, different colors, mileage. So this data is a data set where I'm showing that I have, it's a car inventory, right? I have different vehicles in my car lot. I have different colors, different mileage. This was the price that I'm going to sell it for, and this is what I paid. This is what I paid. So I can determine now, all right, I could have probably hundreds in this data. And I can say, okay, well, let me see which one I paid the most for. Let me see, how many red Audis do I have? How many red Benz? Do I have any green color Honda? Do I have any red Audis? So, you know, I could look for data. I could look for data to analyze. So this is what we're going to try to do by using a pivot table. So anyone knows about pivot table? Have you ever heard the word pivot? I'm sure pivot is my favorite word. Everybody who knows me knows pivot is my favorite word. But the word that I would use here with pivot is, you know, changing, you're moving, right? It's a little different here with Excel, but pivot is one of my favorite words. So anybody ever used pivot before? Oh, is this the first time? Yeah, right. So you heard of them, Alwyn, yeah? Kimberly, you ever did it? Nadia, don't worry. I know you might say, I'm not gonna say I did it, because I'm gonna say, well, let's do it together or something. No, don't worry, I won't do that. As yet. Yeah, Deborah, you ever used it before? You heard about it, you use it? Okay, Rennie heard about it, right? So let's go then. Shivana, what about you? You heard about it? Pivot tables. Yes, you work on it a lot. You work with it a lot. All right, so here we go. So you'll tell me, right? You'll tell me. So this is my data set. So, you know, I always like, if I'm using any technology, whatever I'm doing, I must know the jargon, because I don't like to stay in a meeting, or you explaining something to somebody, or you're working, you know, you're using this data and you don't know the jargon. I don't like that at all. So I love to use the proper jargon, right? So what we're saying here is data analytics using Excel, and the jargon is, do you have a data set? So you could ask persons, right, so where's the data set in Excel for me to analyze? That's what you have to remember. What is the data set that you're going to use? So this is my data set. Right, now I have to make Excel understand this is the data set that I'll use, right? So I'm going to highlight it. The term is, so terms that we're bringing forward, key takeaways so far: data gathering, data analysis, data representation, and then decision making. And now we bring in another term, which is data set. So what I'll do after, we'll email you all, everyone, Caribbean Connect will email you what we refer to as a reference sheet, a quick reference sheet, right? So don't worry about it. In case you forget anything, we have a quick reference sheet, and of course, I'll send you the recording also. So vehicle, color, mileage, price, and what was paid. This is my car lot, right, that I'm selling vehicles, and I want to get some kind of data. I want to analyze a little better here. So I'm highlighting it, and I'm going now to insert, and I'm seeing the word pivot table and recommended pivot table. So I'm seeing pivot table, folks, and I'm seeing recommended. So let me try recommended first. Let me just show something and look at things that I could look for here. It's given me an idea, right? Sometimes, you know, it's like what David, you were saying, there's a disconnect. And I was also saying that sometimes people don't know what type of questions to ask. So look, the technology could help us. You know, if I could just say recommended pivot tables now, I could say sum of mileage by vehicles, all right, sum of price by vehicles, sum of mileage by vehicles. This is just some examples, right? This is just some type of examples. What is that by, let me look at that one. Sum of price by vehicles. What does that mean? It means I have Audi, Benz, and Honda. Yeah, those are the three vehicles, okay. Audi, Benz, and Honda. And I can see, well, I have the price I paid for that, 7,620 for all the Audis, all the Benz, that's the amount, and all the Honda. And I have a grand total. So I have some, all right, okay. I could make some decisions already. I could look for things. So these are some recommended pivot tables. It doesn't mean, Deborah, that this is what I'll use. I just wanted you all to know that the tool could help us. The tool could help us. The tool could guide us to know how to do it. Right. So I'm going to cancel it, and I am going to do my own pivot now. That's what I want to do. I want to do my own pivot. Right. So to do my pivot, I'm going to insert, as I said, I'm under the insert tab, and I'm going to pivot table. Right. Now, when I click on pivot table, it is saying from table or range. From table or range. Good. Look at it saying here, table range. All right, well, they just highlighted everything for me. No problem. Let me highlight this over, make sure, cancel. Let me cancel it and just highlight the data alone that I have. Right, so I'm just going to highlight the data alone, and I'm going to insert, and I'm going to pivot table. Right, and I'm getting my correct data set coming up. I'm getting my correct data set. And I'm going to put it on a new worksheet. Yeah. Then I'm going to click OK. Great. So I am on a new sheet, but my information that I have is on sheet 1, right? Now I have sheet 3. Okay. Before I go, what are some questions that we could ask? Let's say I want to know how many color Benz I have in my car lot. How many Mercedes Benz do I have in my car lot in terms of the color? How many color? Let me just play around and see questions, right? So I'm going back to my sheet. So, I mean, it looks as if you have loads of information here, but you really don't, right? Now, these are the fields that I could select: vehicle, color, mileage, price, what was paid. So I could put something in a filter. Let me do that. Let me put filter here, right? Let me put filter. And then let me put color. Yes, I want to say color value. No, that would make sense. Put colors in the rules. Yeah. Good. What did I do? Under value, I put a count of color. So value will give you some type of numerical. That's what you have to note. Now I have created vehicles, right? Where I have vehicle on top here. And I'm seeing green and I'm seeing red. Now I could do it this way. I could change it up. With vehicle, I can click on the drop down arrow and I could say, okay, I only want to see Audi. Right. And look at it. The Audi vehicle that I have one in green and I have two in red. So some good stuff already. Now I could change, you see this filter? I don't have to have any filter. I could change it up just now. So I'm going to click on the Audi again and let me get Honda now. Right. And I'm seeing it. I'm seeing I have one in green and one in red because there's only two colors that I have, green and red, right? It's only two colors that I have. Great. So how could I clear it if I don't want to see these things? So how did I get vehicle to come up on top here where it's a filter that I could select the car that I want and then I could know the color and the numbers that I have? How did I get this to appear here? Anyone could remind me? This is a filter. That's what I have to note. It's a filter. So let me redo this, right? I'm going back again in case we're not with me. I'm going to sheet 1. I'm highlighting everything, right? So let me make sure that I indeed haven't highlighted it. And I'm going to insert. Yeah. And I'm going to pivot table. All right. When I go to insert and pivot table, I'm seeing the table range there that is highlighted. I am seeing that I could place it on a new worksheet or I could have it with the existing worksheet. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring it up as a new worksheet. Yeah. Then I'm going to click OK. Yeah. So I did it, new worksheet. I'm getting this coming up. What I did was to drag vehicle because these are the fields. These are the fields that automatically would appear. Vehicle, color, mileage, price, what was paid. I clicked on vehicle and I brought it down to filters. Now you see, I have filters, I have columns, I have rows, and I have values. I have to remember that value will be a numerical figure, some kind of number. That's all I'll have to remember. It's a number. So I'll click on vehicles and I put it here under filters. Yeah. Then color. We said we had color by columns, I think. No, we had, yeah, we put back column there. We also put color by value so that we can see numbers appearing. I think I wanted colors by row. Yeah, by row. So indeed, I am seeing the vehicle appearing here as a filter where I can click on the drop-down arrow by all. I could do Audi, Benz, or Honda. All right, click on Honda and I can see now. Right, I have green. I have one Honda green and I have one red Honda. One red Honda, yeah. Good. Great. So this was an example of, analyzing what I have. I can take off the vehicle. So where I have, I'm going to remove the filter. How I can remove everything? Just untick, untick, untick. Great. Let me create another one. Let me see color. Yeah, I want to know which color had the most price, the heaviest price that I paid for it. Color. And yes, what was paid. So I'm seeing green. You see all the green cars? Well, I paid $2,100 for all. And all the red. So apparently for red color cars, I paid more. I paid more. Yeah. Yeah, I paid more. So I could analyze it. So what I'm trying to say, sum of what was paid is a value and it will always come up as numerical, meaning value, sorry. Whatever you put there will be the value. We could change it up. We could see if this thing makes sense or not. So color, take it out, sum of what was paid. So I'm taking off everything, right? So where I have vehicle, let me put vehicles under value. Let me see if this makes full sense now. Value, then I could probably put color under columns. Let's see, right? So I have green and I have red. Well, I have 3 green overall and I have 5 red. Yeah. No problem there. That's what I have. Good. So all we are saying is that you have filters. You could put something in a filter where you could adjust whatever you want. And then you can see all of the data. You could have columns. You could put anything in the column. The column was color. You see green and red. That's column here coming down. I have nothing in rows. And the value would be some type of number. That's what I have to remember, is a number. Now, so that's pivot table. I want to continue with the pivot table and show us a very nice example again, something that I've seen will really work good. Let me go back to, I want to get something known as a calculated field. So I'm going back to sheet 1. And I'm going to try something again here. I'm going to insert. I'm going to have pivot table, right? Pivot, right? Good. I'm looking for insert again and calculated fields. Under fields. Where's my field? Right, so I'm just looking for calculated fields as a drop-down menu. Not seeing it coming up.
Would it be under pivot chart?
You seen it?
Under
Pivot chart.
Yeah, when you click the little arrow under pivot chart, you see a little, no, not there. Under the word pivot chart, there's a little arrow.
Right. Yeah, but that would be for charts, only charts.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a word with calculated field. I just saw it. I don't know how I'm not seeing it on my screen right now, but I'll bring it up just once I see it. So the calculated field is automatically will give you the calculation. And it's a very nice feature. So let me get it back. But since you brought it up, let's do the chart one time. You know, sometimes you want to see things in a chart format. Let me go back to sheet 3 or something, right? And let me just go to insert. I have charts, right? And I can say recommended charts again. All right, okay. Which one? Green and red. And I could just change up some of my charts here. All right, so you want to see how much you have red, how much you have in total. I do like this chart. Let me do over pivot. So to use the pivot now, I'll go to vehicle. I'll just put vehicle under rows and color, right? That's all I'll put under value. Right, good. And let me see if I get a better looking chart here. I go insert. Pivot chart, yeah. Okay, column, okay. I think this is a better one, right? Showing you detail a little better. So you have the number, count of color, and so you could do it in a chart. You could even change it, the color, everything here. Recommended charts. If I don't want this chart now, I could change it to something else. Pi, well, pi didn't make sense. Okay. Right. So we just shared a little bit of information so far, which is pivot. Under pivot, I could do a pivot chart, and then I could analyze some of the data by just dragging and dropping from filter to value to rows to columns. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and Alwyn, you'll help me a little bit. If you could share your screen, and we'll do something together. Allow you to share, right? Didn't I? Yeah. Right, so you could just open up Excel and we'll do a simple example and we'll get people to converse with us here to make sure that we understand it. And then I'll do the other one. Great. So let's analyze student and marks, right? Student and marks. So just let's write down about 4 of us here. Maths, English, and science. Maths, English, science. And let's just put some. No, we should put it as student name, sorry. Yeah, put subject on top. Right, yeah, good. Well, maths, yeah, subject. So just make up some names, 5 names, and each subject with their marks. So maths, English, and science, and just put in some values. Yeah. Right, could we zoom in a little bit? Right, thank you. All right, and we can just put some marks here. Great, good. So we want to create now, folks, a pivot table with this information. The example we want to use, we want to say, right, let's see what we can, what are certain, let me ask you all, this is the data set. What are certain questions, if you are the teacher, that you could use to ask now? Remember, we said we have to ask the correct question. Hi. Somebody asked, saying something. What are the questions? What are questions that you may want to ask? So this is our data set now, right? This is our data set, and we want to analyze this data. That's what we're trying to do. We are trying to analyze the data. I might say, okay, I want to know which marks, right? The total number, which the students made which marks most in, right? Which marks did the student makes the most marks in? Yeah, which subjects they made the most marks in, right? So that's, I could say, okay, well, David made better in science, right? I could use those kind of questions. Yeah. So let's try and see. Let's highlight the data now. And let's go to insert. Anybody wants to walk us through what to do? Okay, I'll walk you through this time. Insert on the menu bar. Your thing looks different from mine. You're not seeing pivot
I
on
use
yours?
Excel, but pivot is here.
Okay, how it's not under insert in yours? What is the older
This is not
version?
No, this is not Excel. This is something else.
What is this?
It's LibreOffice.
Oh, is the version equivalent? All right, so let's try to do
it's
it then on this.
Yeah, so pivot.
Pivot, yeah. Great. Now, when you go to pivot, you are seeing filters. You are seeing what is on top there? filter column
Um,
fields, row
field.
fields, and data fields.
Yeah,
So filters, data, row fields, and data. So we said
Mhm.
we'll put student name under filter
right.
and maths, or yeah, let's just see what's coming up. Maths, yeah.
So, on
Put
the
maths
row
under field.
here.
You didn't, that's data field, right? The sum of maths, yeah. Take off that one, yeah.
Okay.
Drag it out. Click OK. Let's see. Right. Right, does that, I mean, well, I'm just asking questions to see what will happen. So if you go back to
Right.
student name now, where you have all, click on the drop down by all. Let's see David. Right, so David make a mark of 85 in maths. That's seen specifically with what? Per student, and their mark in maths. That's what it is, you know, their mark in maths, right? Okay, let's change it up, do some more, right? Because we're looking for data, we're looking for good data. So let's get
Okay.
back to the pivot. Could go back to your sheet, your original sheet, with all the information, right? And then you go back to pivot.
Mhm.
Right, and you have filters, column fields, row fields, and data fields. So let's play around. Somebody's telling us something in the chat before I talk. Somebody's saying the overall mark. Overall mark for what? Overall mark, meaning the total mark. The total for the student. All right, but let's try. What did we put? We put student name. Let's put student name by row. Yeah. And let's put maths, English, and science, yeah,
Yeah.
by data fields, yes. So let's see what's coming up, the all.
Okay.
So we are seeing Anna, yeah, but that's the same information more or less, huh?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we didn't get a total, we didn't get total, look, we get in the total now. Let's make sense out of this, somebody. So you are seeing maths. Well, we had 405, 406. So the most apparently students made better. If you look at it just like this, you'll see that, well, it's average. There's not a problem with the subject or the teacher, because sometimes you might say, all right, if people made 200 alone in maths, then there's some issue with the maths mark. But apparently it's a kind of average 405, 406, 408. So we really didn't have a major issue. So what does that 405, 406, and 408 represent?
Well, wouldn't it just be the vertical total?
Yeah, the total for maths overall.
For all math. Yeah.
Yeah. But we may want to see now what is the total of, totals, but we want to see, yes, not correct. We want to see totals that Anna made overall.
Right.
Right. We want to see the total like that. Now, we could simply do a sum function here, you know, click by equal, as you know, equal. Sorry, not by equal. Where, yeah, right there. And we could add it up. We could do it quickly here. Yeah, exactly. And then you just fill down, right? Right. So this is the total marks now. This is the total marks. The total that Anna made overall. So 1, 2, 3, that's out of 300.
Yeah.
So the student that did the best was Sandra, if you look at it like that. Now, you could use these as if different statements now to analyze it with different formulas. Right. So you could have gone on and on and on and used different formulas now. So let's go back. What I wanted to do was to go back and just get a little better at the data. Let's go back to our pivot table. Yeah, that's the original data set, right?
Yeah.
And let's see, just for Peter, we just want to know Peter marks alone. How we could do that. Just put Peter in, we're in row.
Okay, yeah.
and just put maths, English, and science. Yeah, in data fields. Yeah, click OK. Yeah, but that came up as a filter too, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, yeah.
It's coming up as a filter. So the filter allowing me still to see everybody, and then I could filter out what I want. I didn't create it as a filter. I put it in what row? In rows alone. I put it in
Yeah, student name. So I guess it pull in all the students.
all the names, and then you could
Yeah.
just put who you want. Who you
Yeah.
want. All right, I want to go a little more, and I want to say maths. Let me just filter for maths alone to get marks alone. So I'll put maths, take out everything, yeah. And put maths as a filter, and put student name on the data fields. And let me see what's coming up now. Click OK. Good. Click on the drop down my maths, and let me see all the people who made 85. Nobody made 85.
Nobody made 85. Yeah, David.
So go back. Yeah, but look, David coming up now.
Yeah. Yeah, David is coming.
All right, click back on your drop down again. So David alone made 85. What about Kendrick's mark? Kendrick made a mark of 48. Okay. So this is just where I have some data, and I could just place what all when I could place certain things in value, place certain things in rows, place certain things in columns, and get data from it. But what I wanted to really make the point about if I don't know what to ask, I wouldn't get the data. I wouldn't get it. So you have to know values. What does value represent? Value represents a number. Value represents a number. Always remember that value will represent a number. So let me play around again and put something with value. Let's go back. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's say maths on the data fields alone, maths on the data fields. That's value?
No, this is data field here.
Yeah, what I want, right, maths, and put student name by filter.
Right.
Click OK.
Right, so it gives me all the math. And I can do Anna.
I could see Anna specific marks alone in maths.
Right.
So I could do all, and I can see how it was. So I could probably be, if I'm the Ministry of Education, I could say, all right, look, children, then total number that they made in maths was 405, but that can't be, that's very, very low. We're supposed to get 1,000 or something like that, right? That's for the total if I'm trying to analyze if there was a problem with the maths people. Just saying that to make a better decision. But if I didn't have that data, I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do. So I have it by name. I could get single name. I could get single name, or I could get a total. Right, good. Then I also added up the totals. So let's get some totals again. Let's check it again. Go back to pivot. Let's get some totals coming up. I think we did this one already, but let's do it. Let's put all the subjects on the data field.
So English, science.
Yeah.
And it's okay, right?
Right. So just looking at this alone, 4, 5, 4, 6, 4, 8, the best mark overall persons made the best in science. Overall, they did overall in science. Meaning if you want to analyze further and say, is there a problem, as I was saying, a problem with the subject itself. So overall, they did the best in science. But if you look at this just you know, the decision to make 4, 5, 4, 6, 4, 8, you might say, well, it really wasn't a main, they didn't do better in one over the other. Like some maths 100 only or something like that. Everything was okay. That's the kind of decision I'll make. So I'll click on the drop down arrow and I can now select anyone, one person alone. Yeah. 87. Who's that? Anna. And you could see
Anna,
Anna
yeah.
Marks alone. Right? You
Yeah.
can see Anna Marks alone. Yeah. Great, great, great. Good. Right. So I'm looking at the time already. So let's do a key takeaway. Thank you, Alwyn, so far. Thank you.
Sure, no
What are the
problem.
key takeaways so far? Yeah. Right. Key takeaways so far. David, what are your key takeaways with pivot tables? What is your understanding of pivot? Because we have a lot more to do with pivot. We could do power pivot, many, many different things, right? What are your key takeaways, David, with pivot so far? We're not hearing you, David. Deborah? Okay. What about Jeffers? Right. David said agree. Right. Agree. I know, David, you're agreeing because you have a lot more. You have a lot more to learn in this. Yeah. A. Jeffers. Yeah. What are your key takeaways so far? No, Denise? Okay, people probably typing in the chat. Let me see. Natalie?
Hi.
Key
Well,
takeaways.
I've never used pivot tables before. So this for me is a very good introduction of how we go about starting to use it, you know? So, and it's very helpful. Thank you.
So what specifics, what specifics you jumping out at of the pivot tables for you? What are the specific tables? Specifics.
Basically how to filter, what the purpose of really, or what it is you could use pivot tables to do. Things like filtering and actually getting down into the information and actually analyzing it properly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So key takeaways with the filter, the purpose of the pivot tables is to help us to analyze, right? So Danelle said to get overall marks, etc. Right. So it's really to make some type of decision. My first example was with a car inventory. We saw we had different makes of cars, and what I could have pulled up, I could have said, okay, how many Mercedes-Benz do I have in red? How many Honda do I have in yellow? Right. So I can see if somebody asks me a question, how many red cars in this make you have? I can do that simply by using the pivot table feature. Now, the pivot table feature, what you have to remember with the pivot table, you have 4 main points with the pivot table. So, right, Danelle is also saying it's excellent for stock taking, right? There's many, many more things. And I mean, we'll have to take more than an hour to show a lot more with pivot. This is just making sure you see the power of pivot table in Excel for data analytics. So it just shows a few points here. Right. Shivana said, I work at a school, so analysis of data is key, whether it be student attendance, SCA scores, right, by student. Excellent. So Shivana, definitely could use the pivot tables for that. You could use the pivot table for that. But 4 main points under pivot tables would be rows, columns, data fields, the data fields, which is value. So the value is always something numerical, and then you have filter. So it's just 4 parts of it. The key parts of the pivot, which is filter, columns, row labels, and then you have value. What Alwyn was showing us, the value really is data fields in his one, but it's value that the majority of us will see.
I'm so sorry I couldn't answer before. I I
talking?
have a question. This is David.
David, right? Mhm.
So for me, and my question is, I know this is just a lunchtime series, and I know that you all have a course coming up. What I want to know is, so for my director, he doesn't want to see the data. He wants to see the graphical
Reports.
representation.
He wants to do the
Does,
reports.
does your course cover that?
Yeah, we will show reports. Yes. You, a
Yeah.
good thing you asked a question, so I could answer it right here. So you'll be able to pull reports from the data using Excel, using Excel, because we use an
Yes, correct.
Excel to show reports to make decisions. So you could go to the director now and say, all right, students made, I just use an example, students made the most marks here, etc. You could do it in charts. You could do it with reports. Remember, a report, you could form dashboards. So you could form dashboards.
Yes.
So yes.
Would the dashboards be part of the course?
Dashboards, we're going to learn how to do dashboards exactly using Excel. You didn't look at the course outline. I'll show you. I'll
I
send it
want
to you.
to send the course outline. Someone should have called me today, but I haven't gotten the call as yet.
Okay, great. Well, good. So good you mentioned it. So the end result of this particular program would be how to analyze the data, how to do dashboards. We'll do something with linear regression, a little statistical, Excel, what if scenarios, some good stuff. So some really good stuff. But in one quick line, David, you should be able to use the cases, because I'll present cases of data sets, real long data sets, to generate reports, because that was your original question. Yes. And that's when we started the whole conversation, David, by saying you have to do data gathering, data analysis, data representation, and decision making. And there's a disconnect. The disconnect is not being able to use the tool, not having the information, not being able to analyze the thing properly. So I'm glad you brought it up. Reports. So you could have report 1, report 2, report 3, all on different sheets. Excel will do that. Pivot table actually will do that for you quickly. Great. Questions? David, we answered you right, David?
Yes, we did. Thank you so much. I look forward to the course. We use Power BI, but for some reason my directors don't want to see that. They want to be able to see Excel, which is so weird. So I have to go back.
Sorry, what you said, David? They didn't want what?
Oh, sorry. I said I use Power BI, but my directors, they don't want to take that time to learn Power BI. So I have to go back to the drawing board and refresh myself with Excel to be able to pull dashboards and so on.
Right, but yeah, you could do it in Excel too. Okay. I'm thinking why, but Excel, Power BI, Tableau. Excel, Power BI, Tableau. But once you are there, you generate reports and you give your directors and everything. So I look forward. So what are your key takeaways so far from the first series to now? Conditional formatting, for those of us who are here, I'm looking to see, there were a couple of people on the call. Conditional formatting, really good stuff. And we shared today pivot. Now you also have Power Pivot, real good stuff again. So key takeaways: data gathering, data analysis, data representation, decision making. All you can do. You could do it with Excel, you could do it with Tableau, you could do it with Power BI. Thank you, everyone. If there are no questions, I know this was just a lunchtime and people are going back to their jobs. Thank you. If there are no questions, are there any questions? No, Shivana saying thank you. So thank you, Alwyn, for being my co-assistant on our Lunch and Learn series. Actually, Alwyn is in Suriname right now. So thanks, Alwyn, for joining us. What time? Well, it's the same time by you, right?
No, an hour ahead.
An hour ahead, right. So you had lunch already, or you're going to have lunch now?
Yes, I did.
So great. And I know some persons were from Jamaica too. So thank you, everybody. We look forward. Caribbean Connect, continue, Lunch and Learn, always interesting stuff. Next week, we have one with Tony Raghunandan, another very, very good stuff on Lunch and Learn with productivity, a leadership series too. Thanks again. See you all. Bye-bye.